Everybody, and welcome to the Simply Race Endurance Series, live from the Imola Grand Prix circuit and here in Milton Keynes. Fantastic to have you all with us today for what should be an incredible 6 hours of the beautiful Imola Grand Prix circuit. My name is Paul Jeffrey. As you can see, I am on site here at Milton Keynes with the magic of the internet. Alongside me is the one and only Mr. David Christie. David, good afternoon, sir.
To be joining you this weekend, but then I had a jam-packed weekend of esports commentary lined up, which is all now dissolved into absolutely nothing, so I'm thoroughly jealous and wish I was down there beside you in person, Paul.
Yeah, it's great to have you, David, alongside even if it's only virtual and you're breaking up in my ear, but I can still just about make it out. So yeah, it's great to have you with us, David. It's great to have everybody at home watching today as well. Now, if you are watching us at home, you're obviously watching on the Simply Race YouTube channel, so please do give us a like and a subscribe if you can for more of these incredible races. The endurance series that we're running today is a 5-round championship, David, and this is round 2, and Imola is a track that it's going to be interesting in GT cars, isn't it, round Imola at 6 hours?
Imola, yeah, it's going to be an absolute challenge for sure, especially here in R Factor 2. Weather, I think, is going to be a big talking point for us over the next couple of hours. You've got some, big corners to think about. Tamburello, Variante Alta, especially coming down to Ravazza as well. These are teams that know how to drive around each other, Paul, and yeah, they are not afraid to get stuck in.
It's one of those tracks, David. You'd have to apologise, but unfortunately
Yeah, so just to apologise for that, what it is Paul, you've actually got a little bit of a delay hearing me, but it goes out on stream perfectly fine, so yeah, very sorry about that. But as we said, at the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari, Imola was better known, a legendary circuit here in Italy for round 2. And let's have a little look at the track that we're going to be going round here for the next 6 hours here at Imola, one of the legendary circuits for GT3 racing. And I think it's better actually if we go and have a little look at one of our onboard hot laps.
Welcome to the Arroy Designs track guide for the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Dino Ferrari, host of round 2 in the Simply Race Endurance Series. This circuit is an absolute classic in the world of motorsport. Originally a semi-permanent racetrack started back in 1953, it's been raced in all manner of race cars, from high-speed open-wheelers to touring cars, from bikes, both motorcycles and pedals, and pretty much everything else in between. Let's take a look then around the 19 challenging corners at this 4.9 kilometre circuit, where bravery is going to be key more so than anything else. Pit lane rejoins on the right-hand side of the racetrack as we head down towards the first real section on this circuit. Variante Tamburello, these days it is a bit of a chicane. Left, right and then left again. Commitment is required, but you've got to be careful of those curbs. You have to abuse them, you have to take risks over them, but you can't push it too far. Such a fine margin to balance into Variante Villeneuve, where again on the right-hand side of it, going through that right-hander, going through the final part of it, you're going to push wide, you're going to go into that gravel. You've got to be careful to bring it back over to the right-hand side before we hit Tosa. A lot of different lines work here. Double apexing it, finding that final one is normally the ideal and preferred option to get that drive out of the corner, up the hill, over the kink of turn 8 and then into the double apex of Piratella. First one, left-hander, completely blind. You have to trust your judgment as you throw it in at high speed. Then we start descending through the kink of turn 10 into one of my favourite corners in all of motorsport. Excellent when you get it right, horrible when you get it wrong. Of course, it is Aqua Minerale before we start heading back up the hill over a kink at T13 and then the full commitment at Variante Alta. You want to talk about high commitment over curbs. There is no greater example of risk versus reward than this part of this circuit. You've got to throw it in because the run down the hill towards Ravazza is quite a long run indeed. Now, this is a tricky braking zone heading into the penultimate corner of the racetrack because it kinks just before it, just as you want to get on the brakes, but you've got to get it over onto the left-hand side, straighten up that braking zone as you pull it over to the right, go through the first left-hander, through the second left-hander, back onto the start-finish straight. Pit lane is on the right-hand side, and that is a look around the circuit, which will be taking on for 6 hours of fantastic racing in the Simply Race Endurance Series.
Fabulous track guide there, and we are now back on track for qualification for the 6 hours of Imola. And David, it's a 30-minute session. We've got 17 minutes, 26 seconds left on the clock. And these cars, the GTE cars in R Factor 2 around this track, it's such a handful to get a good, clean lap out of these cars, isn't it?
Yeah, they're absolutely wild. And Paul, I've got to say, I'm delighted that you can actually hear me this time. You see the Fordzilla getting it all wrong. And that looked to be coming out of Acqua Minerale, coming up the hill there, where it all went wrong for the Fordzilla team. Of course, they're coming into this round without a massive, massive high, taking that win at the 12 Hours of Bud, and then coming into this race as your championship leaders. It sounds awesome, but it doesn't actually mean a lot when we've only had the one round.
Yeah, Fordzilla, though, in anything that they compete in, are always one of the teams that you need to keep a very firm eye out for performing at the very top of the field. So a little mistake there. They're second in qualification at the moment, 1.5 tenths of a second away from the Zancho Rocket Simsport car. Now, David, an interesting point to note here, 2 Zancho machines today, so they're looking for another big result, first and third at this moment in time as we hit the halfway marker.
Yeah, quite a few new teams to the championship. Obviously, we only had, I think it was about 9 in the first rounds a couple of months ago. So it's great to see the pods filling up. And of course, the thing to explain as well, Paul, is while you're down there, this is an in-person race, one of the more unique sim races that we've seen over the past year or so. This involves teams actually being down there. This is not a virtual online race. This is teams that are actually down there at the venue as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And to be honest, David, it's a very bizarre experience to be back in public again for the first time in a couple of years. So I've very much forgotten how to behave in a public environment. But it's great to see the pods are filled up, the drivers are all there. Most of them are wearing their official team colours as well, the Zancho boys and the Fordzilla in particular. There's an E-Brit team as well, E-Team Brit, sorry, are racing as well. They're currently 5th in the standings, almost a second in arrears at the moment, but expect the number 15 car to move up the running order. And what we'll be doing, David and everybody at home, over the course of this 6-hour endurance race, we'll be catching various team members and drivers for a little bit of a chat in broadcast, so do stay tuned for that one. Hopefully the in-ear pods work that time when we can hear each other, so it'll be great, won't it, to get some reaction right from the heart of what's happening while it's happening, and talking to these drivers.
It really will be, Paul, and obviously we did the first round at Boots, and it was Alex Goldschmidt and myself that was there, and we've worked together, Paul, as well, on various different championships, and for me this just feels very, very different. It's a wonderful atmosphere. Oh my goodness me, that is a huge impact for the Necesidad de la Vie machine. 141.1 is their fastest time so far, but I can't see them doing any improvements with bits of the car hanging off. But yeah, going back to your point there, Paul, it just feels different. It's a wonderful atmosphere that's down there in Milton Keynes at the Simply Race venue, with everyone supporting everyone else as well, and just hearing the in-person cheers and the gasps as you get all of the coverage on the big screens that are all through the venue. It's just unlike anything else. I'm a big esports fan, so like my biggest memory has been down at London, and watching the Counter-Strike Global Offensive majors down there, the Face It majors, through 10,500 people, and that's what atmosphere feels like. That's what makes esports incredible. When you get people in person, actually on the venue, on site. And granted, you're not going to have 10,000 down there. You'll have maybe between sort of 50 and 100 people down there over the course of the weekend, Paul. But it really just makes it a completely different race, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The atmosphere is a real incentive to come down and get involved in one of these championships yourself. And I say there's a few people, family members down here as well, and everybody's getting involved. They're coming to talk to each other. I've introduced myself to a few of the drivers, and then some of their rivals come along, and there's a bit of banter. And everybody's here for one reason and one reason only, David, and that's for the love of what we do, for the love of virtual motor racing. Obviously, they want a good race. They want a good result as well, but it's all about enjoying yourself and having a great time out on the track. So if anybody watching at home's not really been involved in one of these sim centre type organisations before, Simply Race, of course, they do arrive and drive, so you can just turn up and have a go, and there's organised championships and events as well, such as this one that we're racing in today, and some slightly less serious affairs too. So get yourself down to Simply Race, find them on the internet, find out the address, come down to Milton Keynes and get involved. The rigs are beautiful, they've got great big monitors on their triple screen wraparound affairs. It's so immersive, and there's a licensed bar as well, of course, so you can get some refreshments and everything. And it's my first time down here, and I've been absolutely blown away. And Mike and the team over at Simply Race put on a fabulous show. So do get involved, and obviously stay tuned on the YouTube channel as well for these broadcasts, because it really is a great day out, and I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. But David, let's go back to qualification for a moment. At the moment, Zansho Rocket Sim Sport, the number 3 machine, is our provisional pole position. But look at that gap between themselves and their sister car, 7 1,000ths of a second, with a Fordzilla number 1 machine a further 10.5 in arrears in third. Qualification, David, immediately is starting to wave some flags that we are going to have a very close race indeed.
Yeah, we absolutely are, and still 11 minutes left to go in qualifying. As you said, 7 cars now split by 7/10 of a second. Zansho Rocket Sim Sport up in that pole position with a 141.190 ahead of the number 2 Zansho machine, just 7 1,000ths of a second. Team Fordzilla down in third place. They're set at a 10th of a second off of the pace, and then E-Team Brit, surprisingly for me, gets themselves up into 4th position. Now, I want to know who is in that E-Team Brit machine this weekend, because I had a cheeky little message from a good buddy of mine, Martin Buchan, who is a close friend of mine, but he races with E-Team Brit, so I'm wondering if he is down there in person this weekend. Red Shell Racing down in 5th position, Casual Apex in 6th, Radicals Online in 7th, Avanti Racing in 8th position, Camsport down in 9th, Ubarakura in 10th, with Green Shell Racing down in 11th place, Fault Shark in 12th, and Necidad de la Velocidad in 13th position. Paul, that number 4 car, that's going to be an interesting one to commentate through the race today.
Yeah, we've already joked that one is Spanish for Need for Speed, supposedly. So that might be the easier name. NFS, from now onwards, they will be known as. We're looking at the Zansho Rocket Sim Sport car has just gone fastest with a 41.057 return on the number 3 machine, 1.3 of a second in arrears. And a very popular car is the Corvette C8R here today. This is one of the Aston Martins now, currently purple in the first sector, 1/10 of a second up on the rest of the field. They're currently 11th position are the Ubarakura machine. So can Aston Martin start to break the monopoly of the Chevrolet Corvettes, currently in 1, 2 and 3 on the grid? Let's find out now. We're coming through the chicane at the top of the hill. It's imperative to make sure you use the curves, but don't compromise your exit. Get the car planted. Green in the second sector, just 4,000ths of a second. We're looking at the crowd in the picture at the top of our shot. But let's follow this car now for the rest of the lap. Now coming into Aqua Minerale, hard on the brakes, use the curb on the inside, run the car out wide. Now a little lift, all throttle, and hard on the gas. You're looking for the shortest line to the checkered flag. We're about across the line. Purple split 1, green in split 2. 1:41.05 seconds is the lap time that we're looking to beat on board the Aston Martin of the Ubarakura team. Crosses the line and fails to do it by just 0.8 of a second. So David, a terrible final sector this Chevrolet Corvette's looking like the car to beat today.
It really, really is. And although it was a poor Sector 3, that's still good enough to bring them up into 6th position, 7/10 of a second off of that pace there. Avanti Racing up into 4th position now. So really, it's all coming down to these final 10 minutes here, Paul. This is where the time is really starting to come down, because we've now got 10 cars within about a second of that pole sitter. And why is that important? To give some context for our viewers at home, well, that usually means that they are closest. Oh my goodness me, Fordzilla again struggling at Aqua Minerale at Aqua Minerale on that double right-hander complex there just before they run up the hill to Variante Alta there, and that's the second time we've seen that exact car do that. But back to the point about why does 10 teams now being within a second of the pole sitter matter? That means usually they're on a very, very similar pace. You're not going to see big, massive variance in pace for that, and usually means that the cars stick together quite closely. So 8/10 of a second is absolutely nothing here, and we've got 10 cars split by that.
Yeah, it's really tight here, David. 7 minutes left on the clock. Now, just quickly going back to the Fordzilla for a moment, they were on for the fastest lap time before that mistake. So the Fordzilla machine has certainly got lap time to spare too, nearly 3/10 of a second in arrears. That's the Avanti Racing car currently stationary on the inside of the corner. They'll live to fight another day. With 6 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock, all drivers still have a good opportunity to get out for at least another couple of quick laps before the checkered flag falls.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where the real money comes in, because it's all about these banker laps that you see in the first 10 minutes, as we see the 5th place machine just into Ravazza there, 2 wheels over the curb, unsettles the car, the excess traction pulls the car round, and that's what sends you off into the inside barrier straight to the scene of the accident. But again, these Corvettes proving very, very popular indeed. But Paul, with these qualifying sessions, they want to get these fast banker laps in that in case of it all goes wrong, they've got these laps to fall back on. Then they can spend the last 10 minutes just absolutely throwing the cars hell for leather and seeing what sticks and what works and what doesn't. But 5 minutes left to go in qualifying. I would not be surprised to see another 10th or 2 tenths come off of that pole time.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail absolutely on the head there, David. It's so important for these drivers to set that banker lap, to give them something they can fall back on, because often for a driver, especially in an environment like here, where we're in a live environment using machinery that maybe you're not as familiar with as your equipment at home, pushing the limit is a little bit riskier in that sort of situation. So if you can set a comfortable lap time, something that okay, not my ultimate fastest, I've not gone 110% taking a chance, as we've seen the Rocket Zancho car sideways over the curb, really pushing hard. The number 3 machine wants to take that provisional pole position away from their teammate. But it's so important to put that banker lap down to give you half a chance. It is a 6-hour race. We have got 13 cars on the track. But David, it's Imola. And Imola's the kind of place where you can very, very easily find yourself involved in somebody else's incident if you're starting further down than maybe your natural paces in the car.
And that's absolutely spot on. Because it's a team event, you're only as fast as your weakest link, and with it being an in-person event as well, it makes it so important for these drivers to be smooth and consistent with maybe hardware that they're not used to. Maybe it's a little bit different to what they've got at home or what the exact setup. So it really is a great leveler here. Everybody on the same stuff, on the same on the same items. They get to use the setup that they've developed. But the thing with that is that it's such a great leveler, Paul, and I think that we really get to see some proper talent shine.
Oh, absolutely. And while you were talking there, David, the number 3 Zancho Rocket SimSport machine, fastest in sectors 1 and 2, but then just fell foul at the final sector to go into 3rd position. They've closed the gap to just over 1/10 of a second, but the E-Team Brit have snuck up there to the front row of the grid. So a fabulous performance from E-Team Brit. Second position, 9/100ths of a second away from that provisional pole for the number 2 Zansho Rocket Sim Sport Machine. This is the E-Team Brit car that we're looking at now. Purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. There's yellow flag in Sector 1. That won't affect us in this Ferrari, but we're too aggressive over the curb is the E-Team Brit machine. I think that will somewhat stymie their progress as we're coming down now into the final part of the lap. Let's keep with this Ferrari car. Sector 3 is where everybody's been struggling in comparison to our pole sitting number 2 Zansho Rocket Sim Sport car. So can E-Team Brit turn this 1/10 of a second advantage, 4/100ths of a second advantage into provisional pole position? They're going to cross the line. 1:40.951 is the lap time that we're looking for, and they do not make it, a 41.1, so they drop down a third as Fordzilla are our new fastest team.
Wow, a huge lap there from Fordzilla going purple in Sector 1. You knew something big was going to happen there because E-Team Brit, they got purple in Sector 1 and 2, and then immediately it changed to green in Sector 1, which meant somebody went faster. But this car is absolutely hooked up here, Paul. Fordzilla taking that pole position with a 1:40.951. I said we were going to be looking at 1 or 2 tenths of an improvement. And look at E-Team Brit, actually. They've done a much bigger lap than we ever thought, because not only have they improved, but they've got in between Zansho Rocket Sim Sport. Zansho Rocket Sim Sport were running 1-2, and E-Team Brit have just sandwiched themselves in the middle of them.
Yeah, great stuff, Fordzilla. So our provisional pole sitter 2-minute marker has just gone down now, so many cars will be on their last, or at the very least their penultimate lap of this session. Avanti Racing jumping up in a 6th position, a good lap time from them in the 9 seconds. 0.5 of a second is covering our top 7 cars. 0.7 of a second cover our top 10 drivers, so as close as you like it to be at this stage in the race. Fordzilla going faster again. Purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. There's nothing between them. They're running now to the line. Again, a 1:40.951 is our provisional pole position. Can Fordzilla take this further afield from the rest of the cars? It's going to be a very quick lap indeed, and it is not quite fast enough. Fordzilla not completing that lap time. Team E-Brit coming across the line now to set a 1:41.3. That moves them back into 3rd position.
What an end to qualifying this is. Absolutely incredible stuff here. And watching Green Shell Racing come through Rafazza then with just a minute left to go here, Paul. I honestly cannot believe how this has gone down. Fordzilla taking the pole position, making up for amends what they did in the first round at Buda, obviously taking the pole, taking the race win as well. But they have got a lot of challenge in the meantime with just 30 seconds left to go. I'll be honest, I cannot see anybody knocking Fordzilla off that top spot, and they saved the best for last, didn't they?
And that smells like famous last words to me, David. Let's find out as Zansho Rocket Sim Sport now. They're on their outlap, so this is a car that we need to keep an eye on. Number 2, this is one of the cars that will be looking for pole position. A fellow Corvette C8 getting a great slipstream coming down into Tamburello for the final time in this qualification. The more that the cars are circulating the course, the more rubber they're laying down on the circuit, the faster the track will become, the lighter the cars they'll be getting as they're burning off their fuel as well. So it is possible that we will see a bit of a shake-up further down the order, but as you say, Fordzilla have set that target incredibly high indeed. A 40.951 under these conditions is a very solid lap time indeed. David, that's going to be a significant marker to our drivers, isn't it, that Fordzilla are going to be the team to beat as we see a spinner in the background.
That's one of the Zansho cars, so they're not going to be improving on that. That'll be the number 3 Zansho Rocket Sim Sport. But yeah, back to your point there, Paul. Absolutely. I mean, that is a shot across the bow. That is a mental blow for Zansho Rocket Sim Sport, who would have went into the final 10 minutes of this qualifying thinking, yeah, I'm feeling quite good about this, and they just get absolutely sucker punched, first by Fordzilla, then by E-Team Brit, knocking them down a couple of pegs there. But this is not over just yet, because look at this, the number 2 Zancho Rocket Sim Sport machine coming out of Aqua Minerale, as we see Green Shell Racing on a purple sector 2, going across the line, 141.224. Green Shell Racing move up to 5th position, that's huge. But here we go then, this is Zancho Rocket Sim Sport number 2 machine coming out of the final corner of Ravat, so we need to go and have a look here. It was a purple sector 2 for them. What can they do across the line? This is looking very good. It was 1/10 up, a whole 10th up. I think they might have lost out there. They've done it! 140.976, just missing out on that pole position. So hang on a second, does that mean that Fordzilla have put in another fastest lap then? Because it was better than that, and Fordzilla, Paul, have done a 140.870.
And that is exactly how you secure a pole position. Leave it to the very last moment possible, Lewis Hamilton style, for Team Fordzilla to get that pole position. Zancho Rocket Sim Sport, the number 2 car, improved their lap time right at the very end, but it was not enough to displace the Team Fordzilla machine. So that is our pole position sitter for the 6 hours of Imola here at Simply Racing, the Endurance Series. Team Ebrit line up in 3rd position, just 2.6 tenths of a second in arrears. And then on the 4th row of the grid, we see the second Rocket Zancho Sim Sport machine. So, David, we suspected this was going to be a tight qualifying, and we've been proven very right indeed. And I reckon that sets us up for a rather storming 6-hour race ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm very, very much excited to see Fordzilla taking the pole position, 2nd round in a row, making good on their initial opening rounds at Bud, the 12 hours. Zancho Rocket Sim Sport, though, that is going to be a very, very interesting affair to see them getting back up into that 2nd place, because, of course, we didn't see any of the Zancho Sim Sport teams last time out at the Bud race, so it'll be very, very interesting to see that. Team Brit, they were actually last in qualifying for Buds, and to see them up to 3rd, Paul, that is a huge improvement for them.
Yeah, fabulous stuff. I think it's worth pointing out as well to anybody at home that's new to this championship, it's a bit of an interesting format here in the Simply Race Endurance Championship. One race weekend, they'll race in prototypes. And the next weekend, they race GTEs. Then it's back to prototypes again. Then it's back to GTEs. And for the season finale, it's going to be a multi-class event. So a lot of adaptability is required from these drivers. So if you're quick in a GTE, but you're not so fast in the high downforce endurance prototypes, then you've really got to find the balance between yourself and your drivers. And perhaps E-Team Brit are very much in the ascendancy in these GTE cars. They've done a sterling job there, and this, David, is a great opportunity to claw back some of those lost points from round 1.
It certainly is, Paul, and it's a fantastic variation to the different championships that we see. As I said earlier on, Paul, we've worked on quite a few different championships, and it's the same tried and tested method, isn't it? It's like, one class over the season, multiple races, that's it, job done. Whereas with this, I mean, it really adds the spice. The fact that you've got your DPI cars, then you've got your GTE cars as well. It really means that you have to have a variety of different abilities through this. And again, just going back to something I said earlier, how fantastic is that, Paul? You can see that out the corner of your little dungeon that you've got for commentary in there. But seeing all those people wandering about, smiling, having a good time, it just makes it all worth it, doesn't it?
It really does, and I'm actually going to venture out into all those said people and find somebody to talk to from Team Fordzilla. So, David, I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, so to speak, sir, turn mine off, and then go a-hunting for esport drivers. So I'll come back to you. Hopefully I can hear you when I come back to you, but we'll find out in a few short minutes.
Excellent stuff, buddy. Well, we'll fill in until you find one, and then as soon as you start speaking, Paul, I will just be very, very quiet until you have a little interview. But you can see you're not going to be spoiled, or you're not going to be short of choice for drivers to have a little chat there, and I'm determined to find out if our very own Martin Buchan from E-Team Brit is actually on the print. He is, just had it confirmed from producers, he is on site, Paul, so go and have a chat with him if you possibly can, because he sent me a message. This is what I was trying to joke about and say earlier on. So Martin Buchan was actually in the wheel, behind the wheel of E-Team Brit, and put it on third on the grid there. Now this is what I want Race Control to have a look into, because he actually messaged me last night saying how much you're willing to pay me to cause a lap 1 shunt for Simply Race. That is absolutely despicable. We cannot condone that sort of behaviour. And Martin Buchan, we know, is perfectly skilled at binning it all by himself anyway. Highly adept at that one. But yeah, we'll wait and see just exactly what happens there. But obviously the big news to talk about, as we said, Fordzilla putting it on pole position for the second round here at the Simply Race Endurance Series for 2021. It's Zancho Rocket Simsport in second position, with E-Team Brit in third, and then the second of the Zancho machines. So a very, very good afternoon to Paul, who has went off. There he is, looking rather resplendent. That's why the audio wasn't
Hello,
working.
David.
Because
unfortunately, I can't hear you, so I'll hopefully hope that you can hang fire a moment, because I'm joined by our pole position winner, Charlie Crossland, for Team... So, David, I'm joined by Charlie Crossland from Team Fordzilla, pole position winner. And Charlie, fantastic lap time, fantastic performance. What does that mean to you and the team?
Well, it's quite important. We're going to get, hopefully, the lead into turn 1 and hopefully disappear from there. But yeah, it just means we don't have to backtrack like I usually do for once. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a good race from now on.
Now, it's really tight throughout the course of the field. How easy does that lap time come to you and the car? Did you have anything left in reserve, or is that absolutely everything you can give?
I mean, I had a half spin on my lap, so I lost at least 5/10 on my lap. I had loads of time, but I just couldn't push it because I'm not that comfortable yet with Tim.
Now, going ahead to the race, qualifying's one part. We've got 6 hours in front of us. Do you feel that the car is strong? Are you comfortable over a long stint? There's a lot of Corvettes in there, so there's a lot of drivers that have got very similar machinery underneath them. What's going to differentiate your race from theirs?
Track warnings, I reckon. It's one turn, I can't remember what turn it is, but it is prone to track warnings, so it'll be down to who's not going to get a drive through.
And at the start of the race, obviously, we're coming down into Tamburello as a pinch point on this circuit, as is the Villeneuve chicane for the second part. Have you got any strategies in case to get your head down and go, or are you expecting anyone to be strong off the line? Because standing starts here, of course, a bit dramatic.
Well, I just have to have head down and go. I don't have much experience from a standing start at all, so I just got to go from where I am.
Fantastic stuff. And I suppose the big question is this a race that Fordzilla think they can win?
Yeah, this is 100% a race that Fordzilla can win. I'm not taking anything apart from W here.
Brilliant. Charlie Crossland, thank you very much for your time. Team Fordzilla, our pole position sitters. Back over to you, David.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much there, Paul Jeffrey, down on the race floor. And that feels so weird to say, but again, the incredible facilities down at Simply Race in Milton Keynes. Head over to simplyrace.co.uk or give them a call on 01908 713 483. Ask for Mike Yow. Give him some abuse over the phone. That's what I tend to do. It's always a great bit of fun. But you're here for Simply Race Endurance Series round 2 at Imola. And we are going to take a quick break just now. We'll be back after these short messages.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying with us during that short break. As you can see on your screen, that little counter is about to hit 0, and our cars are about to start their formation lap. And David, Christie, all the talking, it's time to stop. This is the 6 hours for Imola. We're about to go.
Well, as one of my commentating heroes said, biggity boys, let's go racing. That's exactly what we are about to do here at Imola. And you get the feeling, don't you? You get the feeling that this is the calm before the storm. It's a 13-car grid that we've got going on, 6-hour racing. Yet I get the feeling, I might be completely wrong here, Paul, that the first 15 minutes are going to be absolutely pivotal to how this race pans out.
Oh yeah, we totally agree. I've spoken to a few of the drivers already during the course of today. Everybody is acutely aware that we have got a pinch point coming down into the first couple of corners. We know, we've seen this so many times, you can lose a race, but you cannot win them on the opening lap. And I think a number of these drivers will be very, very careful not to get wrapped up in incidents in the first few corners. But David, we've seen this so many times. You're a bit too cautious, and that takes you straight into the scene of the accident anyway, because people are expecting you to push harder. So you can't really win in this kind of scenario. It's a lot of good fortune has to fall your way.
Absolutely, and the thing is that obviously with this being the formation lap, I'm expected to see the cars closing a little bit further up. Zansharok at Sim Sports specifically in that number 3 machine. It's a horrible situation to be in. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because you need to push hard to keep the tyres up to temperature, the pressure's up and all that sort of stuff. But conversely, you don't want to push too hard in case you actually cause yourself an accident as well. The problem is as well is trying to second guess all the cars around you. It's never a fun moment. But yeah, 6 hours, long strategy going to be unfolding. Let's see what happens here, Paul.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic to see. To remind everybody, if they join the broadcast later, misqualification, Team Fordzilla put it on pole position. You can see the Fordzilla car rocking the Chevrolet Corvette C8R. This will be a standing start rather than the traditional rolling start. And David, that's got another element of chance into it as well. Some of these cars, these GT cars in R-Factor 2, are a little bit less imaginative off the line than others, and that may mix things up from the qualifying order as well.
I think what you meant to say, Paul, is they're absolutely pants some of these cars off the line. They really, really struggle to
I tried to dodge that.
Yeah, I say it how it is. The other bit, right, so you can imagine with our backgrounds, right, especially in Assetto Corsa Competizione, they're coming round at Boods for the first time, and I'm going mental and then didn't realise it was a standing start. So, yeah, Paul, over to you for the start.
Right, here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. The 6 hours of Imola here at the Simply Race Endurance Series is about to go. Green flag now. Bad start for the Fordzilla car. Great start for the Sancho Rocket Sinsport machine. Another car facing the wrong direction, off at the line immediately before we even get to the first corner. A chorus of shouts